Hey guys, Tyler Ansman here with Tyler Ansman Performance. So today we're going to talk about kind of some general things we consider when we're talking about laying out an elite plan for an athlete. All right? I think the beginning, right? We always want to think about it being more general, whether it's the beginning of the career or the beginning of an off season. All right? We want to build big force capabilities and a responsive nervous system via a variety of movements, right? We don't want to just get great at squatting and be able to kind of add weight to the bar on back squats specifically, right? We want a variety of lower body, knee or hip dominant movements that we can kind of add load to and then express our force and power capabilities a little bit more generally kind of across movements, all right? Then, after we're kind of really good at that stuff, we want to constrain time and use that force quickly. All right? And then we want to apply this in more and more specific contexts, okay? And again, this works kind of from the off season to the in season, and it works from kind of youth athletes to professional athletes, right? When you're a youth athlete, for example, think about we want this broad base of movement capabilities and variability, right? This is why a lot of coaches want athletes to play multiple sports, which I think when they're young, if you like multiple sports, by all means, play multiple sports because we want this kind of vast movement library that you're going to get from doing these other kind of diverse things. If you don't like multiple sports, that's okay. We can get that from training, but we need to make sure we're accounting for that and giving you that variability in your training as well. Now, as you progress through your career, if you're like, hey, I want to take baseball as far as I possibly can, yeah, at some point you're probably going to have to specialize around high school to kind of get to where you want to go, right? Because you're competing against freaks. Okay, so to get as good as you possibly can, if you're not a freak, is going to require more focused development time. Okay, then you want to think about kind of as we get more specific with what we're doing, right? How do we drive these adaptations? Because it's going to take different means as we go on than it did in the beginning, right? In the beginning, you can have kind of this really general training plan with no super intense loads or anything like that. As you progress, and kind of increase in your proficiency with training, that's gonna change, and you're gonna have to add more and more intensity as you go in order to kind of drive these adaptations, okay? And so we can apply this, on the throwing and the general side as well if we think about kind of the off-season, in-season period, right? Early in the off-season, you wanna make any movement changes you need, right? Variability is key to knock the pattern out of a stable state, and so we can actually kind of get down to what we're trying to change, right? Then we want to build big velocity capabilities, right? In a general context, this is where kind of pull downs, the constraints velo, all of these things come into play, where we're not just throwing bullpens, but we're trying to build this velocity quality, for example, all right? And then we're going to apply that in more specific contexts, right? Bullpens, live at bats, etc. And then kind of once we're able to kind of apply that right into the more specific means, then we're going to be in season. I think one of the things that tends to go wrong at this point is people want to keep training like it's the off season while they're in season. And you're just not going to be able to do that, right? One of the main things that we want when you're in season is for you to be fresh for your competition, right? When it's time to compete, let's compete. And when it's time to train, let's train. But let's not get it twisted about what we're working on, right? Got to train in season, but the goals are very different from what we've been kind of working on the entire off season. All right? If you got any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.